big titties.
Hey, what'd you think? What'd you think?
I almost thought I wasn't going to hear that this time, to be honest with you. Because I actually, as it was playing, I was like, there goes the big titties. But boom, came in clutch.
Dude, I feel like I've just made it to where like big titties has to be included somewhere in it. It's kind of like the thing now, and it just
Right.
worked because I was like, "What's this life for?" Like, oh,
Big titties.
this is perfect. I've also got some. I got some cool little. I added some more video assets for that I'm going to intersperse throughout this today. But I don't know if you're familiar with Creed shreds, but I got a lot of these.
Is that the classic "you shit here with me"?
Yes, sir, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it still makes me laugh every time I watch it to this day. It's great. So yeah, I got some ones I'm gonna intersperse throughout. But what's up, man? How's it going? How's it going, everybody out there? We're back. We're here. The normal pleasantries, not peasantries, are in order. Christian, what's going on?
Not a whole lot, dude. Got a long ass work week ahead of me. I'm dreading it so much. This is why I like time flies, because I constantly wish my life away.
Is this thirds this week?
It's a 4-day work week for me, which people are probably saying, "What are you talking about?" But it's just my 4/12s, and by the time I get to Thursday, man, I am just dead. I'm so exhausted. I literally don't have time to do anything. I go to work, I come home, I eat, I run, and then just straight to bed. And I'm just dreading it. It's so cold. I hate it. So I'm begging for spring. I'm begging for it. So
Yeah.
I'm just wishing my life away right now, which I know isn't good.
Does it start tomorrow?
Tomorrow at 5 a.m.
So wait, like tomorrow morning?
Yeah.
And we're recording tonight?
Well, we were going to record yesterday.
Well, yeah, then my own shit happened. Long story short, I had one manager on staff aside from myself. I've been turning over the management staff because it sucks. And he was supposed to close. I was off at 8, and about 7 o'clock, he's like, "Hey, can I talk to you?" I'm like, "Yeah, what's up?" He's like, "Oh, I don't know, man. My anxiety. I feel like everything's crashing around me." I was like, "What do you mean? Everything's going fine tonight. It's been a chill night." He's like, "I feel like I'm giving up." I was like, "On what?" He's like, "This place, like right now." And in the moment, I got really mad because I knew that meant I was going to have to work till midnight. And I was there at 9 a.m. So I literally just looked him in the face. He said, "Dude, just put your key on the desk." And I walked away from the office. He comes back around a minute later, walks outside to his car and leaves. So I was at work till 12:30 last night.
What do you think the real reason was?
I know what the real reason was. I mean, he never admitted it, but he was on some shit. There were multiple times that like he'd be kind of like swaying while he's standing. His eyes would just be glazed over. You could tell. I mean, you could just tell dude was I don't know. I don't know what it was, but I think that he was having a bad trip or some shit and was like freaking out. And yeah, I just had no patience for it anymore, man. I was
So
like,
you manage your manager at it's like a pizza. Is it a dine-in restaurant? Is it takeout?
yeah,
Is it both?
I mean, it's both, but we're like a higher end pizzeria. We're not.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's awesome. But
Well, it's not awesome, but yeah.
hold on. I'm just thinking, like, how many times on planet Earth inside of a hold on, just give me a second. How many times on planet Earth has somebody working inside of a pizza place said, I feel like it's all crashing. I feel like it's all crashing down around me. Not the military, not at a fucking.
I
I can just imagine somebody saying that. There's people out there going, "Yo, man, where the fuck's my pizza?" Like freaking
no.
out.
But see, that's the thing too. Like I said, I was confused because nothing was going on. Nothing was going on. It was chill. Like everything was fine. There had been no issue. I was like, what is happening? And like, he's like shaking and breathing heavy and shit. And I'm like, is this motherfucker like seeing dragons or some shit? Like, is he tripping balls? And
Oh my god.
yeah, dude, I don't know. So that's what I dealt with last night. And, buddy, that wasn't even the worst part of it. The worst part of it was having to call my ex-wife to tell her that I couldn't get my kid, which I ended up getting him. My brother just got him. So my brother put him to bed and whatnot. And I just obviously saw him this morning. But oh my God, bro, she was insufferable. Yeah, she's always a fun time to deal with. So, but yeah, man, that's why we're here tonight, guys. That's why we're recording tonight instead of last night. So you're seeing this on Monday.
That's classic, man. Those have been around for a long ass time.
Dude, I saw those. I was still in high school, I think, when I first saw Creed Shreds.
Yeah.
But look, man, we talked about this last time. Actually, you brought it up. And then you even made a comment about, like, I don't know if people will want that. And then a bunch of comments and messages I've gotten since then were like, no, we want the existential crisis episode. We want the 2 a.m. thoughts episode. So if you guys are here for the horror movie talk, we're going to be light on it today. We're going to go through some things together. And there's going to be no structure to this, really. It's just going to be like freewheeling. So join us, take a seat. I guess to start this, man. Well, no, you know what? Before we get too deep, let me just ask you.
Don't just set me up and say go, Christian, because like if I'm on the spot, I don't feel like I can do it. I can't perform like that.
No. Before we do all that, you watch any good movies lately? Did you check out Wolfman? I think you did. I didn't watch.
Yeah.
I don't know if you did a review or not. I didn't check it out because I just got a new car, so I hadn't been able to go to the movies. But you see any good shit lately? People are talking about this movie Presence. I don't know.
I haven't seen that. I watched if I did see Wolfman, I didn't like it. I won't say too much though if you haven't seen it, but maybe the title's a little misleading, put it like that. It's not horror, but I watched This Is Tom Green last night, documentary about him, and it was really good. It was a great time capsule because when I was a kid, I used to watch the Tom Green show, and obviously Freddie Got Fingered and all that. And there was this famous clip I used to watch all the time. And this is how weird Tom Green is, the way he thinks. It's so funny to me. The singer for a band called Jackal, Jesse James Dupree, went on the Tom Green show, and he was doing this gimmick where, like, he had a guitar that had a chainsaw on it, and he would play the guitar, and just like the chainsaw would be going. It really was. I'll be honest, the band Jackal is kind of dumb, and Jesse James Dupree is kind of dumb. And in this clip, and people go on YouTube and look this up. He comes out on stage. Tom Green introduces Jesse James Dupree. He comes out, saws a part of Tom Green's desks off, and then the crowd's going crazy and stuff. And in the whole interview is Tom being overtly passive aggressive, mean to Jesse, and it's uncomfortable. Like Jesse doesn't know what to say. He's got an extremely nervous smile on. And I remember watching it being like, holy shit, like this isn't fake. And then years later, I finally found an interview of Tom Green acknowledging this video. And Tom is such a weird guy. I don't know if Tom is all up there, like in his head, because he's so weird. He's Canadian too. All Canadians are weird. But he goes, so yeah, what happened with that was he sawed my desk And I thought it'd be really funny if I was actually pissed off, but I knew I was pissed off and I knew I was doing my show at the same time. So I should just be pissed off, even though I kind of was. So I understood that I was really mad, but I knew it would be funny if I acted like I was pissed off at him. And I'm listening to this, I'm like, what? And that's Tom Green for you. Like it's still, he's still a little confusing. But no, it was a great, it's on Amazon Prime. Anybody that grew up watching his stuff from the 90s and everything, it was really good. And it was the most Tom Green thing ever, because he made it himself. He made his own documentary, but it's done very, very professionally. And I really loved it. And he got real emotional, and he talked about like his life with his parents. A lot of stuff he did was like the precursor to like Jackass and stuff like that, and Viva La Bam and all. So he really is a trailblazer, and I really enjoyed that. I'm trying to think if I've seen anything else like horror or anything. I'm sure I have, but
I watched Wishmaster for the first time.
nice. That the first one's good. Second one's not bad too. I don't remember the third one being that great, but the thing about Wishmaster was that was kind of like the Expendables back in the day of like for horror, with Robert Englund doing this ridiculous. I've waited years for like, you know, all that shit. But I love Wishmaster. The first one's great. The best part of Wishmaster is that moment in the beginning where he's a little slug, like when he crawls towards the camera. Like that part was freaky as a kid.
Yeah, and he says like, do you like wish the pain away or whatever? And the guy says, yeah. And I thought that he was just gonna like make him better, but it was one wish granted, so he'd be like stronger or whatever. But he was like, no, I'm just gonna kill you, so the pain will go away. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I thought it was fun. I did. It's not something that like, I don't know. I think it just flew under my radar because I know it's like a cult thing. Like it's not something you ever really see people talk about. So I just, but yeah, I thought it was fun. I thought it was a good time. I haven't seen the sequels yet. I've only heard terrible things about 3 and 4. I heard 2 is okay.
There is a 4th one.
Yeah. So
it's a product of a few things. It stands out obviously because, you know, it's a creature feature, you know, majestic kind of whatever whimsical horror movie during a time of urban legends and screams and all that. But it was also it was under the Wes Craven Presents banner.
Yep.
And that was a huge thing after, you know, Scream came out. So it's got the moniker of the Wes Craven Presents. But a lot of the horror legends, like I think I can't remember if it was K&B that did the makeup, but all that. But I know Kane Hodder had a part in it. I think Tony Todd was in it. It's been a year so since I watched it.
I can't remember.
I think he was. Yeah, he played himself. Not that he played himself, but he wasn't being a Candyman, obviously. But yeah.
He's in it. He's in it. Yep, he's in it.
I like Wishmaster. Wishmaster's classic. I think that was like 97, the first one. So.
Yeah. One of my favorite parts of the movie was the old hobo outside the pharmacy.
Yeah.
That guy is disgusting. But so that was cool. I haven't really seen much new. I did see on Instagram yesterday. I saw a video. I guess the assumption is that Bam Margera is clean again, which is good. Have you seen this bit? He did a podcast interview, I guess, and there was this bit that kind of went viral, like a minute from that interview that he did, where he was talking about how like I want to be correct here. He said Middle Eastern guy on a plane recognized him.
Bomb again.
Dude,
Yes,
I was laughing my ass off.
Yeah. So to finish it, Bam was on a plane. I don't know where he was going or whatever, but yeah, he said it was some Middle Eastern type guy, you know, in the kind of setup that they wear, where they got the turban on and all that. It was recognized him and started saying bomb, and the woman on the plane. What do you call it? The
stewardess.
The stewardess is like, why is he pointing at you and saying bomb, sir? My name's Bam Margera. He recognizes me from Jackass.
That's a really good Bam impersonation.
That Pennsylvania accent.
Yeah. What's funny too is the older he gets, the more he looks like Phil, his dad. I swear to God, he gets chunkier like Phil.
Yeah,
He
his face
sounds
gets
more like
bigger.
Phil. Yeah, his face gets more round. I miss Bam, man. I hope he stays on the straight and narrow because it sucked that he wasn't in Jackass 4. Which that was a whole thing. Like he was on it. They had been filming for a week or so, and they didn't use any of his stuff. But there's one. He's in the trailer. He's in the trailer
Right.
for Jackass 4, and I was like, wait, why would you keep that in the trailer though? That's weird. Um, yeah, and then there was that whole public dispute where he was like, they didn't pay me because they said I breached the contract or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Like I keep up the most with Steve-O, which he deserves a lot of credit. I mean, that guy was literally huffing gas
Mhm.
and shit, like around like 2010, 11. And he is super, super clean and sober. And he said that they wanted to use him and everybody wanted him in it, including Jeff Tremaine and all that, but they had a contract with him where he could not he had to stay clean. Like Paramount could insure him if he was not they couldn't insure him if he was on drugs. And I guess he broke it and he went crazy. If it's that simple. I mean, based off of the way the guy was during that time, I don't doubt it. I mean, he's got problems. And then it's weird because he's Bam's longtime buddy,
Brian Dunn. That's
Brian
when he
No
went.
well,
Yeah.
no, well, I was gonna say Novak.
Oh, Novak. Yeah.
He got clean and he is like a personal trainer now and a motivational
Mhm.
speaker. And the thing about Bam was, I think he was surrounding himself. I'm not saying that it wasn't his friends, obviously, but like the fact that he had his friends around him that were all doing so much worse than him probably masked his own problems. He didn't have to deal with his own problems because he could look at his buddies and say, "Well, I'm not that far gone." But now that his friends are getting clean and sober, he's probably. I think what do you call it? Where you're not jealous of him, but you have a certain feeling. I'm losing the word, but like he's almost angry that they're
Envious.
and something like that. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's like he holds it against them that they're sober
Mhm.
and clean and healthy now, and he's not.
Yeah.
And I think he's got to figure that out because I mean, people fucking he still has millions of fans. I mean, he was.
It was him and Knoxville him, Knoxville, and Steve-O were my favorites on
Yeah.
Jackass.
I
It
was
just was.
like
It wasn't the
Wee
same.
Man. I was a Wee Man guy.
Yeah, dude. Wee Man rules. An unsung hero is Chris Pontius. Because I'll tell you what, the fact that dude will just like
Party
get,
boy.
yeah, he'll just get in a man thong and just like, walk around the streets like more power to him. Like they were all good. I mean, the only one I never cared for Aaron McGahee. And like obviously he was the whipping boy. Everybody made fun of Aaron. And rightfully so, He had a stupid nickname, Danger Aaron. It's fucking stupid. But like I just didn't find him that funny. Like, I don't know.
It was funny when he got hurt. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
I remember so Jackass came. I mean, I've watched there's a documentary I watched back in like 2018. It was called Big Brother, and it was basically about the birth of all of that stuff. Where it really started with that. It started with Bam and his CKY stuff with the band, obviously, and them doing the original videos and the Big Brother magazine, which was I think that was Jeff Tremaine, where it was like, dude, that they talked about articles in that magazine that were such the blackest humor. Like there was an article on how to kill yourself literally and stuff like that. Like, and then there was the big thing where Big Brother was going to go under because they had so much money in lawsuits, and then Larry Flint bought it, and then there was this infamous thing that they talked about around like it was like around 99 or 2000 where all the subscriptions got reversed, so all the Larry Flint hustler people got a Big Brother magazine, and which I'm sure the Big Brother guys and all the Big Brother customers probably didn't give a rat's ass if they got a
No.
hustler mag. But I was watching that, and it's so interesting how it all started and everything. Where Knoxville was getting and Knoxville was doing insane stuff. Where they showed a clip of him. This was from like '98, and Knoxville literally put on he got the cheapest bulletproof vest you can get online at the time, and literally shoots himself. And like, it's insane that he did it. He obviously he lived, but what I remember the most was, so I remember seeing a shred of Viva La Bam before Katrina, maybe about 6-7 months before Katrina, and it had been on a little while, because when Jackass kind of stopped, they just didn't want to pay the guys, so they all said, "Screw that, no, we're not doing it." And then
Well,
Viva
it was
Bam,
that, and MTV was really becoming
yeah,
pricks
they
about
were
what they
controlling
could
everything.
do.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can't do these kind of stunts, so that's why they basically just went to movies.
yeah, yeah. But I remember not long after that, I think I gotta get them on DVD. I'm trying to, because they're not streaming anywhere. But I remember it was probably like somewhere 2003 or 4, whatever. It wasn't too long before Katrina that I saw Viva La Bam on MTV, and I was loving it. But obviously Katrina hits, and then my life reset. And I remember watching that a lot, Viva La Bam coming on. But then I remember Wild Boys, where it was Steve-O and Pontius, and they were just like, I don't know where the hell they were. Like, they were like
They
in
would
like
go to
what?
like Africa and shit. Yeah, dude.
And
Yeah.
they had that guy with the long white hair that was basically like their like
Yes.
profession. He was their Steve Irwin that would actually grab the
Mhm.
stingrays and shit. And
Dude, that guy's a badass. I can't. His name is escaping me now. But yeah, no. And then you had it was funny. I was gonna mention this because you're talking about People and Bam. Then Bam did a limited series called Bam's Unholy Union, which
we
was
got
like
married
covering
to,
him getting, and Nikki, I think her name was,
yeah.
and then they got divorced like not even a year later. It's like we did a whole fucking season of television for this, and they didn't even. It wasn't even like, I think it was like a year marriage, if that. But I remember, I don't know if it was Viva La Bam or Bam's Unholy Union, where he took like whatever that kind of saw is called and cut a sunroof into the purple Lambo.
Oh, no. I remember that because, funnily enough, somebody at this point in time has uploaded 4 or 5 episodes of Viva La Bam on YouTube, on original unedited versions, and that was Johnny Knoxville when he
Oh
guested on
yeah.
an episode. And then April comes out and she's like, "Johnny, good to see you." Like, she's not even like, "What are you doing?" And Johnny's like, "Oh, Bam said it's okay." And she's like, "Okay."
No, that was the car I wanted too when I was a teenager. From Viva, I wanted that purple
No,
Lamborghini.
it wasn't a Lambo. It was Bam's red Hummer that he did the sunroof.
Okay.
The purple
Bam
Lambo, they didn't
had
do that to the Lambo. They did that to a red Hummer in
yeah,
the episode. Unless
yeah.
they did a sunroof and a purple Lambo too.
No,
But I do
no.
remember, because I just watched it. It was the red Hummer that Johnny shows up in the episode and did that to him.
Okay, yeah, you're probably right. It's been probably 15 years since I've seen it. Also, he eventually ended up getting a blue Lambo too. He had like a baby blue one and the purple one, and his
Yeah.
wife was driving the baby blue one. Y'all, those things are like 250K like retail, like on the low end. So like I remember being a teenager and be like, man, I want that dark purple Lambo. Then I looked it up and I was like, oh, like $300,000. Okay, that's never gonna happen. But yeah, no, that shit was fun, man. Those shows, that was a different era. I would actually say the peak of Jackass was Jackass 3. That was when they were firing on all cylinders, and I feel like nothing has been the same since Dunn died, just because like they took a really long break after that. They weren't going to do it again. And then when they finally did 4, you're missing Dunn, you're missing Bam. It's funny, don't get me wrong, like it's a funny movie, but it just doesn't really feel the same. And they all went into that, I'm sure, because I know you've probably, I don't know if you've ever listened to Steve-O's Wild Ride, his podcast, but
All the time. Yeah.
yeah, it was really cool to listen to around the time that they were making Jackass 4, because he was talking all about it and about the future and everything. And like when they were making it, they were all like, this is it, we're done. We weren't even going to come back for this one. Then after it came out, they're like, all right, so like maybe if everybody's cool with it, like we'll do a 5th one. And the only thing holding it up is Knoxville, because he almost had like a severe brain injury in 4 because he had another concussion. And his doctor was basically like, dude, you're 50 now. You cannot do this shit anymore. And yeah.
There's this hysterical quote that I see that Johnny, I don't know if it may not even be true, but it may be a fake headline, but it was this, I remember I see it all the time, maybe like once a month. It's a picture of Johnny Knoxville with the silver hair and his glasses. and the headline of this article will read, it'll say Knoxville, quote, I always get mistaken for Jamie Lee Curtis.
I don't know if it's true or not, but it sounds like something he'd say. So let's just say it's true. Damn, that's crazy. He does look like Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yep, they both got the silver tops.
Yeah. But no, yeah, I don't know how you feel about it, but I'd totally be down for another Jackass movie. I like the guy they brought. I like the two guys they brought in the last one. That big fat dude. I think his name was Zach. He was goofy as hell.
Zackass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like Poopies. They just called the dude Poopies. He was the one that got tased on the tongue.
Yeah, I remember that.
He was a funny guy too. And I remember leading up to 4 coming out, they did Jackass Shark Week during Shark Week. And Poopies, I think, got bit by a shark, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did. These dudes, man. So they basically said, like, if we do a 5th one, we'll still be in it, but we'll take more of a back seat. So we'll let these younger guys that we brought in do the shit that's really going to hurt them. And we'll do, like, the nasty shit. I mean, still one of my favorite ones ever is the Poo Cocktail redo from, is that Jackass 3? Yeah. It's absolutely disgusting. I don't know why any human would do. I do. They were each getting like 5 million or more for each movie, so I'd probably do it too. But Steve-O didn't have anything covering his mouth, dude. So just piss and shit was getting in his mouth.
There was one that is, to me, a lot of the ones that are like really simple and they're just nasty are like my worst nightmares. There's one where they they put an astronaut helmet on Steve-O's head with
Preston Lacey
duct tape
in it.
They duct tape all around the neck with the pipe, and they had a cone that Preston just farted in, and that hot sweaty ass air just goes right through into the helmet, and he instantly the barf slams against the astronaut helmet because he couldn't because Preston stinks, dude.
Not just that, Christian, you remember that he shit in it too, right? At the end of the bit, they show the cone and there's a turd in it.
Oh man. Yeah, that's good shit.
Yeah, that's another gross one that was of course Preston and Steve-O. It was either 2 or 3. I think it was Jackass 3. The Sweatsuit Cocktail, where Preston had
they got his ass. They put his ass on that elliptical for like 10 seconds. He started like geysering.
And Steve-O's nasty ass, they couldn't get enough sweat. So Steve-O grabs he grabs a rag and like wipes his fucking gooch, and then he wrings it into the cup. Oh my God. Yeah. But these guys, man, that's what I'm saying, dude. They don't make them like them anymore. Like the fact that, I don't know, that shit is just wild. Even Jackass 4 still kind of felt like in some ways, it kind of felt like they were holding back a little bit because they're getting older. Who was it? Steve-O, I think, broke his shoulder or his collarbone in Jackass 4 when they were doing they had the tubas on and they were on the treadmill, and I think it was either Steve-O or Knoxville. One of the two broke like their clavicle, I think. And it was like the first week of filming. They were like, it was one of the first things we filmed, and I just fell onto the tuba and fucking shattered it, and we had to like halt filming for a while because I couldn't do anything else. And you got to imagine, like, what is that like for Paramount, man? Like financing this kind of movie, knowing you're going to have to insure these guys that are going to get hurt.
That's what I'm saying. It's cost a ton of money. Yeah.
It's going to inevitably delay the shoot. It's going to cost you guys a lot of money. But these movies make over $100 million. So like maybe it's worth it.
Yeah. I'd take a 5th one. I like that broad they got on there too. She was hot.
I just can't remember her name. Yeah, but I liked her too. She was evil. Like in the sense of like she seemed to like get off on pain. And like she seemed like she was enjoying it. So yeah. But shout out to Zackass and Poopies and all the Jackass guys. But I feel like that's a good segue. Okay, we did some pleasantries. We bullshitted. We threw it back a little bit. But you were talking about, the last episode or the episode before that. We were talking about, you were like, man, sometimes those 2 a.m. thoughts just creep up on you. And like I said, there's not really going to be structure to this. I'm not going to put you on the spot. So I'll just start and tell you, like, first, I guess I'll ask you, as part of those 2 a.m. thoughts, do you ever like have those moments where it's like all quiet, you're in bed,
Mhm.
nothing's going on, and you're just like thinking back on your life, like maybe mistakes you made, and you're like, do you ever like? And the reason I asked specifically is because this happened to me the other night. I don't know what it was. Uh, like I was just laying in bed, I was getting ready, I was laying down to go to sleep, and I'm just like thinking back, and I'm like, man, fuck, like kind of like regrets you have and stuff like that. Not necessarily. Don't worry, guys. We'll get into the truly existential shit. Like, do you ever think about that, or are you one of those people that is like, hey, it's over and done with? I try not to think about those times.
I think I would be alright in prison because I can live inside my own mind pretty well, and I can relive shit in my head for hours. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. Um, but I almost feel too like it's a product of the world we're living in, because nostalgia there's the expression that nostalgia is a drug, but it's almost like it's like pumped into us today. You go on social media, there's a genre of music that's basically nostalgia core now, where it's sounds to make you think about the past. And I think it's starting to like infuse into everybody's minds and bloodstreams now to where all we do is think about all we do is think about the past. And sometimes I really do wonder how healthy or unhealthy is that. And then other times, my big thing right now is I look at 2023 as like vintage already. Like I think back and like, God, man, that was already 2 years ago. We're halfway through the 2020s, which is fucking insane. And I don't know, dude. Like my biggest fear in life is time. That's my biggest thing right now is
Mm-hmm.
time. It's like it can be it'll be your fucking worst enemy with everything. Like here I am, I'm already wishing for my week to fly by, but
Yes.
eventually I may listen back to this 5 years from now, hearing what I'm saying right now, being like, "Oh, I'm so sick of I gotta go do this all week," and eventually it's gonna be 5 years from now, and it's gonna be 5 years before I know it like that. And that's what scares the shit out of me.
Well, and I make this point all the time to people, like especially employees of mine that are like in high school, because you get a lot of high school kids, and I'm like, you guys, you really don't understand. Like you're gonna miss high school, I promise. Like you're gonna miss these times. And of course, like you and I and anybody else when you're that age, you're like, fuck no, I'm not. This sucks. I gotta get up early. I gotta do homework. Like this is bullshit. And I remember it was maybe 2 years after high school. 21. Man, I was about 21. So maybe 3 or 4 years after high school where I was like, damn, like I kind of missed that. Um, and it's just because it was people you saw every day that you like never see anymore. Then not even necessarily friends, just acquaintances. It's like you saw them every day for a decade plus, and then it's just like, oh, now we're just like strangers. That's kind of weird. Um, you watch people grow up, you grow up with them, and then yeah, that's all just gone. And it was crazy when Jaden and I were recording the other night. I can't remember what movie he was talking about, but he said 2005, and I actually had a moment like on the stream where I was like, "Fuck, man, that was 20 years ago," and I just, I don't know. Got out of the shower the other day and I shaved and I was looking in the mirror and I was like, I can like see age on my face. Like I can see it and it sucks because like I'll go back to photos from when my kid was born on my phone sometimes, and I'm like, I look a lot younger there. And I know there's people listening to this that are like, you guys are young, you don't know what you're talking about. Wait till you get to 50. I mean, it's all about perspective, isn't it? I'm sure when you were 30, you probably thought the same things, and I'm sure when we're 50, we'll think the same things. But yeah, that point that you made, it was really poignant. Time, because time's undefeated and doesn't stop. So it's like it's public enemy number one. Like, and this is where it gets real dark. The thing I think about the most, man, almost on a daily basis, and I really, really try not to, because it'll send me spiraling, is it's not infinite, um, in the sense of like my life, and that eventually that time's going to run out. And that like really messes with me, because all we know as humans is what we know, our stream of consciousness on planet Earth. Like, we don't remember our conception. We don't remember the very beginning. Whatever your first memory is, like, that's just all you know from then till now. And knowing that you're on a biological clock, dog. Like, you're on a track. It's eventually going to end. No matter how much you try to delay it, no matter how healthy you eat, how much you sleep, it does not matter. Like, Father Time's undefeated. That messes with me, like, hardcore. I don't know. That's probably my biggest fear too.
Yeah, and I get that because I'm kind of dealing with that right now. My grandparents, they're alive. My grandpa's physically phenomenal shape for 82, I think he is, but his memory's slipping. And my grandma mentally is sharp as a tack, but her health is going down. And it got really bad maybe 3 weeks ago, to where every other day I thought we were about to, call it, so to speak. Right now she's okay. She had so many different issues, and every time she goes to the doctor, they diagnose her something else. But I've got to come to the grips with my family life within 5 years for sure is going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another piece of my childhood that's going away. Like, there are certain things from my childhood that are still going, which is so cool. Chris Jericho still wrestles. I've watched Chris Jericho wrestle since I was literally a baby. I'm not saying he's as good as he was, but he's still doing it. The Simpsons is still going. I'm not saying it's as good as it was, but that's still going. Like, that's some stuff that's so fucking cool that I hang on to. And obviously family is one of them, but I do know that eventually my family life is going to start looking different in some short span period of time.
Yeah, I mean, my he'll be 88 in July, and my grandma will be 84 next month. She's the one that's had dementia for like 7 years now. And they normally say, I think don't quote me on this, guys, but I think the average is like 10 to 15 years after diagnosis is, usually your cap, but some forms are more aggressive than others. She's at a point now where I remember on Christmas, we FaceTimed my grandma because my mom was here. My mom was like, oh, the boys want to say hi, blah, blah, blah. And my grandma didn't know which one was which. And you could tell that she felt bad. She was trying to make excuses for why she didn't know who was who. Like, oh, what she said about me. She's like, well, I couldn't tell with all that hair. And it's like, I'm wearing a hat. Like, but so like, it's just stuff like that. Like, my grandma a couple months ago was driving my sister home. By the way, this was the last time she picked my sister up from school in Florida because my mom was busy. She pulled over, taking my sister home, and she was like, what am I doing right now? And my sister was like, what? She's like, what am I doing? Where am I going? And my sister was like, you're taking me home. Like, so it's just stuff like that where like that started to become more prevalent. So yeah, I've also come to terms with the fact, I was actually talking about this at work 2 days ago with one of my employees, like 5 years from now, my grandma will be gone. And if she's not physically gone, she'll be like basically a mental vegetable. So it's basically gone. But then that got me to thinking about my mom, because I've never had my dad in my life. So like, and my mom is 57. And I was just like thinking, and I was like, I don't know what I don't know what life is like without my mom being around. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how I'm gonna handle that. Like, how I'm even gonna like process that. Like, not being able to like call your mom or see her on holidays and stuff like that. Like, that's so foreign to me. Like, I can't even get myself in that headspace. But like, it's a double-edged sword because God willing, I live to see that, so she doesn't have to see me die before her.
Mm-hmm.
But also at the same time, it's like, but I also don't want to see my mom die. But it goes back to that father times undefeated shit. And have you ever thought about that? Do you ever think about, like, I don't know what life without my parents being alive is like? Like, I don't even know how I'm going to process that.
Sure, sure. I'm very lucky that I have a great relationship with my parents and my dad. My dad's taught me pretty much everything I know how to do in life, even the fundamental stuff. Like I say, he taught me how to change oil in my car and my truck. He's taught me about basic fundamentals of plumbing, um, how to fix stuff, how to fix drywall problems. Like he's taught me how to, in a lot of ways, be it like just be a man and how to take care of shit around the house. Um, and when my dad lost his dad, Pops, we called him. Rest in peace, Pops, if you're listening. When we found out that he passed away, it was a rough situation because I guess everybody in their family has some crazy family member, usually drugs. And on my dad's side, that's the person. We have a person on my dad's side that's a sibling to my dad that really helped caused Pops to kind of pass away. And when we went to the funeral, I remember it was a weird thing. Like I was I was living in my house here already. I remember I met my dad at the funeral, and my dad that was 2017. I had never seen my dad upset in my entire life. I've never seen him get sad, happy, just go with the flow. Dude, when I saw my dad, like my dad had to go up there and just read a parable or something from the Bible during the funeral proceedings. When he got up there, he started trying to read it, and he was trying to read fast. And when he cried, but it was weird, dude, because he didn't just like he sound it. It was like the most desperate sound of my entire life I've ever heard somebody make. And dude, when I say I think about that so much, I never talked to my dad about it afterwards. We got out of the funeral and we went in the parking lot. My dad was just like, he asked me what I was watching tonight on TV or something. He's like, Bubba, wrestling coming on tonight? And I was just like, no, not tonight, blah, 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 blah. And we've never said a word about it. But man, when I say that sound bothers me till this very day, I think about it. It just bothers me so much. But I'm not really like my dad, dude. Like I get emotional. Like, and my dad's not a hard ass either. He's actually like he wasn't a tough, strict dad. He liked to joke and have fun. But like he doesn't show emotion about shit at all. Like, he doesn't act upset or nothing. Like, I'll cry. I cried on fucking live the other night because somebody was asking me why I love Alice Cooper so much. And I said, he saved my life. You know, I was going through anorexia, blah, 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 which I think is probably healthy to do. But man, I think about that a lot. So the idea of not having my dad around is, are you kidding me? You know,
Yeah, but like
I'll
I
cry.
said, man,
If I'm away from my wife for too long, I get upset. I need my wife, you know? I'm
this is, yeah, I guess it's that double-edged sword though, because it's like I said, God willing that, it's crazy to say that like, oh, well, God willing, they go before me. But it's like, because my mom has said many times, she has this like quote. She's like, if any of my kids die before me, just lock me up in the funny farm. She says it all the time. She's like, just lock me up in the funny farm. And I don't think she's kidding. You know what I mean? And there's 9 of us, dude. So like I
Jesus.
said this I said this to my mom around Christmas time because she was talking about it. I said, Mom, statistically, I just want to let you know it might be more likely that one of us does die before you do because there's so many of us. And like, she's like, I don't even want to talk about it. Like, I don't want to think about it. And it's like, neither do I. But like, accidents happen every day. Like, and when you got more kids, like, the chances are higher that you might have to face that reality. I remember my buddy Kyle, the 3 of us, similar to what you're talking about, like with your dad. Kyle doesn't show emotion. Never. Like, And so it was me, Dave, Phil, and Kyle. That was our friend group from junior high through high school. And then when we graduated, we all lived in a house together. And after a couple of years of us living together, Kyle's younger brother, Hunter, moved in with us. I knew Hunter since he was a little kid, man, because like I'd been hanging out with Kyle since junior high. So I knew Hunter since he was a little kid. He used to always try to come in the room when we were playing Grand Theft Auto. And we'd be like, get the fuck out of here, dude. You're like 8 years old. Fuck you. Like, you know how you do with your friends' younger siblings, like, go away, loser. Hunter moved in with us for like a year or so, near the end of when we were all living together. And then people get married, have kids. We all move out, go our separate ways. And about a year after all of us had went our separate ways, Kyle texted us at like 7 a.m. one morning, was like, hey, I just want to let everybody know that Hunter passed. And we were like, what the fuck? He shot himself in his parents' house. And his dad like went in the room and like found him. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And I remember going to the funeral. You know, I loved that kid. Like he was my roommate for a little bit, but like he was my best friend's little brother. Like I saw him grow up. Like, you know, Hunter was a cool dude. And I remember I showed up at the visitation. I hadn't seen Kyle in like a year. And I told you, Kyle does not show emotion. I just like saw him and I went and hugged him. And we probably just hugged for like 3 minutes straight. And he was just like crying. And you know, it got me going. And cause I just felt so bad, like for my friend. And, then I start to think about like, I talk shit about my siblings all the time, of course. But like, if one of my siblings died, like, I don't know, because I'm the same way you are. Like I show emotion. Like I wear my heart on my sleeve. I don't really give a shit. Like, that's just kind of how I've always been. And to see what that did to Kyle, somebody that doesn't show emotion at all. It's just, I don't know. And isn't it kind of just like a cruel joke? Like bringing this all back, like, isn't it just kind of a cruel joke that like life is this beautiful gift, but like we're going to have to watch so many people we love die while we're on this journey. We're going to have to deal with that heartbreak time and time and time again. And if things go the way as planned, see our parents go, see our older siblings go. And I keep seeing this reel on Instagram, and I'm sure you've seen it, where it's like talking about if you have a bunch of siblings, you know, it's a sad truth or whatever, that one of your siblings, no one will be at their funeral. It's like something like that. Like one sibling will see everyone's funerals and one sibling, nobody will see their funeral. And like, I actually sent that to my siblings and I was like, that's fucking wild to think about. And like, if things go according to plan, that'll be my 16-year-old sister. None of us will be at her funeral because she would have lived longer than all of us. But I mean, you don't know. And then you got to think from her perspective. She's going to see literally all of us fucking die. Like, that's just, it's a cruel joke, man. It's sick.
But the balance of life is that you also get to feel moments of happiness and euphoria. You know, if it was just sadness, then I wouldn't see the point, you know. But we have the ability to feel every emotion possible. I think that's what makes it worth it.
I mean, I guess I'll just ask you. Now, as you sit today in your early 30s.
Thank you for saying early.
Well, technically, it is your early 30s.
This year's going to be my last year is my early 30s. When I turn 33. It's my last year is the early 30s.
Well, like, and you can, you know, talk about like from your upbringing to now, but like, if I asked you right now on the spot, Christian, what do you think happens when you die? What's your answer?
I don't fucking know.
But what do you think?
I don't know.
Do you have one strong feeling?
I can tell you what I'd like to like it
what,
to be.
What would you like?
What I'd like it to be is do it all over again. Maybe in a different vessel, you know. Because the idea of, I grew up Catholic, so I was born to believe that there is, you know, heaven, hell, and this whole thing about when I was growing up in New Orleans, you were Catholic. There wasn't Pentecostal, there wasn't Baptist, There wasn't Methodist, dude. I didn't hear about like you were Catholic in New Orleans. That was the religion. And when I came up here, it was very much Baptist and Methodist and non-denominational. I think is what they call it. And honestly, mega churches, which I got no problem saying I got a big issue with mega churches. There's a church in my hometown. It looks like the size of Bill Gates' home. And the police, when they talk on the radars and stuff, because I use a radio at work and there's a frequency I can flip through, and sometimes I can hear the fire department or people. There's a thing where they call it Six Flags Over Jesus when they refer to this church. I won't name the church, but when I came up here, I was led to believe, oh, if you just accept Jesus as your savior, you're good. You're good to go. But dude, growing up, I wasn't taught that shit with Catholic. You can't just say, God, okay, God, I believe in you. I accept you as my savior. Now let me go fucking kill somebody and ask for forgiveness. If you committed one of the deadly sins, you're done. There ain't no redemption. That's the kind of childhood I had, dude. So that's why I like stuff about the devil and stuff and temptation and movies about heaven and hell. It's so deep rooted in me that like movies about the devil, I something about them, I'm drawn to them because I don't know whether I feel like it's more real or not, but that's why I love you, Prince of Darknesses and um, End of Days and stuff. I love those movies because to me it's like there's some I get a feeling about them. But now here's something interesting. I'll tell you this. One night, it was just like from the movie Signs, where Joaquin's sitting on the couch. It's like 3 a.m. with Mel Gibson. And Mel obviously has had his faith tested, and he doesn't believe in God at this point in the movie. And he does the whole speech about, do you believe in signs, coincidences, or do you no, it was, do you believe that things sometimes just happen out of pure chance and there's just coincidences, or do you believe that there's no such thing as coincidence and there's somebody looking out for us? And Joaquin says, I believe in miracles. I believe in basically God. And Mel says, we're all alone. It's a powerful scene in the movie. I had that same conversation with my brother one night, and it stuck with me till this very day. But there's a weird thing that happened after this. Me and my brother were talking one night just like this. It's probably 2 or 3 a.m. We're talking about ghosts. We're talking about this. We're talking about the Myrtles Plantation, which is a famous haunted plantation in South Louisiana. And I was asking my brother, do you actually believe in stuff like this? Blah, 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 blah. And we get talking about God, religion. And my brother at this point was getting ready to go to dental school. This was around 2013, 2012 or so. And my brother never says my name out loud while we're talking. Just doesn't. I mean, there's no really point to, especially when you're just talking back and forth. But I basically asked him, I was like, dude, do you believe, like, what do you think, Trey? We're raised this way. Me and you have had a lot of questions about some of the things we're taught, when it comes to religion. And my brother goes, Christian. He paused for a few seconds. He goes, religion is a way for people to cope with death. I didn't say anything after that. I mean, it was like the most intense sentence I've ever heard in my life. And I was like, holy shit. And it's when people, it's like you watch debate. Have you ever watched debates with like atheists versus Christians? And the atheists always whip their ass. That's just, you can't prove something you can't see, and atheists, and whenever you hear that atomic bomb of agnosticism or atheism from somebody like that, it hits you. Here's the interesting thing. My brother has had 3 kids now. Every Sunday, those kids are in church. They do the Bible study stuff, everything. And I remember I asked him one time, because I have a lot of respect for my brother, but I remember I asked him one time, I said, Trey, so are you really religious now? And it's weird. Like, he was just kind of like, yeah, I had the kids and blah, blah, blah. Definitely made me open my eyes a little bit, stuff like that. Which awesome, no harm, no foul. But it's weird because I feel like my brother made me more agnostic, and then I almost feel betrayed a little bit by him. As weird as that sounds, I love my brother. I don't hold it against him, but it's a weird feeling where I always looked up to him. I always listened to what my brother's a very smart individual. Graduated in college, top of his class, went to the military to pay for dental school. He's a fantastic dentist now. He's a dentist, very smart. I'm street smart. Trey couldn't change a goddamn light bulb, to save his life. He couldn't change the vent in a goddamn anything. Can't, but philosophically, my brother's very smart. And it's a weird feeling. I don't mean it as like my brother betrayed me, but you get what I'm saying. It's like his words kind of shaped my worldview, and then he completely flipped from everything he used to tell me. But he didn't let me in on it. I don't know. It's a weird thing I grapple with, and I talk to my wife about this all the time, and we kind of have the same feeling about that sort of stuff, afterlife and everything. I'm not an atheist. I'll tell you that. I'm not an atheist because there are things in my life that I definitely think are so beyond coincidental. I wasn't supposed to live where I was at. I begged my dad to stop to go to the bathroom. I've told you the story. We were going to Little Rock when we evacuated. We were going to Little Rock, and then we were going to wait and go back down to South Louisiana and probably move somewhere around Mandeville, North Shore, which is completely overpopulated now because every refugee in New Orleans moved up there. But I begged to go to the bathroom. I said, I got to pee. We pulled into the expo center, and there was a state park right next to it. The guy who runs the state park said, are y'all evacuees? And we said, yeah, we are. He goes, go stay at my park for free as long as y'all need to. Boom. I haven't left. I could drive to that park right now if I wanted to. 5 minutes to get to it. I live 5 minutes from where I took a piss in 2005. Like, is that a coincidence? Is that luck? Like, I don't know. Extremely bizarre circumstances. What would have happened if I didn't? What would have happened if my dad would have said, "Fucking piss your pants. We're not stopping. We just stopped 20 minutes ago." I don't know. I don't know. I don't have the answers. I don't pretend to have the answers. But I'll tell you what I don't like, Nick. When somebody pretends they do have the answers and tries to preach to me about it, that's what I don't like.
I always argue back and forth with the idea when someone's like, and I justifiably so, when they're like, oh, well, Christianity and blah, blah, blah. You can't prove that stuff. That's faith-based. You're absolutely right. But I have always posited back to those people, you can't disprove it. So anybody that is on a high horse with any religion at all, no matter what you believe or don't believe, you don't know that you're any more right than the other person does. You might believe you are, but you don't know that. You simply can't know until you die. So saying otherwise is just like, I get it. You want to own people, but no, but I would ask you this from my perspective too, with my kid. I don't necessarily know if your brother changed up or if maybe he doesn't want, as a father, it's almost like you don't want to raise your kids to think that there's nothing after this. It's almost comforting to them to raise them to think that there's an afterlife. And I think at the same time, it's self-soothing for you too, because you're like, oh yeah, I'll see you again. And we'll all be together again. And like, this isn't the end. Like when I'm gone, I'm not actually gone. I think a lot of parents do that. My kid doesn't really understand death, but like when we talk about it, he'll ask me like, well, like after you die, like, will I see you again? type shit. And I don't think any parent, unless you're just a cruel, in my opinion, is like, especially to a child, is like, no, that's it. Like, I don't necessarily know if he changed, or if he's maybe pacifying himself a little bit.
Yeah, good point. And I mean, look, if and when I ever have if and when I have kids, you know, I would do the same thing. I mean, I believe in keeping. I believe in having innocence in children. You know, I love. I like. Eh, I'm all about that. And I'm not saying that being teaching your kids about, you know, religion and stuff is having it. I mean, like, I just love and keeping kids pure and letting them have the best thoughts and believing in Santa and all that stuff. So I would do the same exact thing. By the way, people, I'm not equating Jesus to Santa. You get what I'm saying? My analogy. But like I get that. And that could be part of it, you know.
It's
I don't know.
probably a
I'd have to
large.
really talk to him about that. But I when I say this conversation we had was literally just like the scene from Signs, dude. I mean, we were sitting up on the futon late at night. We had just TV playing, very, very low volume, barely audible. We were just talking, you know. And I think we both knew that us sitting together like that was gonna be the last time we were ever gonna really be able to do that, because he was getting ready to leave. He was getting ready to go to New Orleans and start his military. No, start his school, because he did school for 4 years, then the military, but the military paid for the school, and then he worked as a dentist in the military. So I don't know, but dude, there are certain moments that I think about a lot, and that night is one of them for sure. Think
Yeah.
about it all the time.
I think that, to what you said, I've always said this to people. I think that the most comforting idea to a human is, like you said, starting over. Like born again. Maybe that's what deja vu is. You're remembering because I've heard that theory as well. You're remembering a past life. There's also the theory of, like, I believe it's like string theory, with deja vu is like there are parallel universes and dimensions where different versions of you are living a similar life. But yeah, I think the easiest to comprehend would be to say, yeah, we just get born again with like no recollection of our previous life. And even you could even get scientific with that and say, well, if matter cannot be created nor destroyed, like that would kind of make sense, right? Your matter and your stream of consciousness would just transfer into something new, right? Now, whether you think that's a new baby or a tree or whatever you think it is, like you can make a scientific argument with that. And I do think that's the easiest to comprehend because all we know is life on Earth and everything that's happened around us. So when you try to comprehend an eternal life in the sky, it's you can't. You simply cannot comprehend it. And I've had this conversation with my mom before. I'm like, I just don't know how that's comforting. You know what I mean? Like a lot of like old school Christians will tell you that it comforts them. And I'm like, how does that comfort you? You have no idea what you're picturing. You have no idea what it's like. How is that comforting? As humans, most of us like to plan, know certain things. I mean, like, I don't know. It's just, I still am a Christian in the sense that I do believe in a higher power. I do believe in a God. And I do believe that, well, I do know for a fact that Jesus Christ was a living person. Like that, he was an actual person that was killed, crucified on
Yeah.
a cross. The question is, do you believe he was actually a Messiah or do you think he was a liar? That's the question. And whatever you believe, that probably, that's going to play into whether you're atheist or whether you're a Christian. Like you said, I don't go by the whole fucking Baptist, all that kind of shit. I mean, technically I was in a Baptist church until I was 17 or 18. I got baptized, all that shit. But even in my church, even with Baptists, it was never just like, well, if you accept Jesus into your heart and say he's, your Lord and Savior, you're good. No, it's still like you have to live your life. I think it's like every day you should do something that like Jesus would do, something Christ-like. Like you have to also be empathetic, and you have to like, ask for forgiveness, I guess, in a way, like when you make mistakes and like you have to own up to those things. Our teaching was that there's only one unforgivable sin, and that's blasphemy, which is just turning your back entirely and saying, I denounce you, you're not real. That type of shit. That's what we were told. That's the only unforgivable one, because you have made up your mind that that's a fairy tale in the sky. And
here's the thing about getting into like the whole going to heaven or going to hell. And like I talked to my mom about this because she is like very basic fundamental. You accept, you get baptized, you're good. You go to heaven, you do your best you can, you're good, blah blah blah. I was like, Mom, what about like if we all created by God, what about people in underdeveloped countries? I'm not gonna call them third world, but like underdeveloped countries that Christianity and that stuff isn't really taught, and they live lives where they eat their young, or they like murder is almost a sport. Like, what about those people that live lives like that? What about them?
If you believe in an all-knowing, omnipotent being, I would think, in my mind, I'm not saying this is right, I would just think that any God like that would have mercy on those people because they don't know any better. Like I remember,
And I would totally agree. I would totally agree with that. But at the same time, if you're not accepting Jesus as your savior, according to I think Catholics, at least my family, what I was taught, you're burning in hell. And I would say to my
that's
mom,
bullshit.
I would say
I
to my
don't believe
mom, I would say to my mom, so there's this God who creates us, gives us life, but he says, accept me as your savior and you're all good. But if you don't, I'm gonna damn you to eternal hell. I said, do I have that right, Mom? And she's like, yeah. I said, that's a fucking monster.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
I mean,
And my point is, I don't think there's no way it's that simple, is what I'm getting at. And that's why if me not living my life the best I can and feeling and hoping that there is something watching me and keeping tabs on me and seeing because my whole thing is, do I make people better for knowing me or having me in their life? I want the answer to be yes to every single one of them, because I think that's, to me, if that's not good enough, then I don't know what is. No, I don't give Panda Express the extra 68 cents so they can do a tax write-off for the donations. I'm not doing that. But I'm charitable.
I do because I feel I'm backed in a corner.
Oh, dude,
I'm
you gotta
like,
tell them no. All they're doing is tax writing off.
I know they've already donated the money and they're basically trying to get
Yeah, they're
you
screwing
to
you, dude.
reimburse them.
So they're going to hell, not you.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, well, what you're talking about, like, well, that's a fucking monster. Like, I don't know. I wasn't Catholic. I don't know what a lot. I know you guys' teachings were different. Like, you guys did have saints. Like, there are different things. Catholicism is definitely more strict. But I can tell you that, like, I mean, the Old Testament, dude, God was like a vengeful dick. Like, I mean, that's just what the Old Testament was. Burned cities, killed thousands of people.
Flood the earth.
You're like, yeah. And the only reason he ever changed was because of Jesus. Like, that's what the Bible's all about, is that Jesus was like, hey, these people should have a chance at like a good afterlife. And God was like, oh, yeah, well, if you want that to be the case, you're going to have to die for them. And he was like, okay, like, I don't think everybody should have to suffer eternally. So, like, if you just go off the basic teaching to the Bible, like, he was a vengeful God. Like, and Jesus was like our conduit. He was like our, like, hey, I don't know, why do we punish everyone? That's not cool. But then but like, before we get too lost, like, when you're talking about people in underdeveloped countries, or you talk about people that maybe they haven't accepted Christ or whatever, but like, and guys, by the way, we're playing devil's advocate here. Like, I'm trying to see all sides of this. But like, what if you're someone that you haven't accepted Christ, but you haven't denounced him either? You're not religious.
Right.
Then you can make the case, is that what ghosts are? Because I've talked to my mom about that before. She doesn't believe in ghosts. And I'm like, isn't it possible though, Mom, that if somebody didn't denounce Christ, they just weren't a Christian, they could wander the earth aimlessly? They don't have to burn in hell, but maybe they just wander the earth. Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe heaven is just for the people that did accept it and tried to live their life that way, and hell is for the people that outright rejected it, like made a conscious decision to reject it, or were just simply evil people. And maybe everybody in between are the lost souls that wander the earth. I mean, you were a Catholic. You remember purgatory. You guys were taught about purgatory, which is like this infinite waiting period
Right.
almost. So,
Yeah.
like, is that purgatory earth? Like, is earth purgatory for those people? And they just kind of roam the earth aimlessly. I don't know.
That's why that's what I'm saying, dude. And I went to Catholic school up until basically Katrina. And dude, religion was a class. You know, we had tests on part of the stories, and it's just, you know, I stopped going to church around 2011 or 12. I haven't been to church in a very, 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 very long time.
I stopped at 18 for petty reasons. I just didn't want to have to get up early on Sundays. Like, it was really that petty. Like, it was like, and then when I got married to Brooke, she's an atheist. But which never sat.
I'll be honest, dude. I think I'm sorry to cut you off, but I had a conversation with Sydney. I had a conversation with Sydney about this. Me and Sydney align pretty closely in that sense, and also politically. We're very, very close. I'm not saying that's why you and your wife aren't together anymore, but I can't imagine having a huge difference either politically or religiously with your partner.
No,
it's a nightmare, right?
Well, this might sound petty. I actually think politically is harder for me than religiously. Simply just because no matter what side of the aisle you're on, you have very strong like beliefs, like morals and things that matter to you. And I think anybody wants their partner to share those same things. They want them to care about the same things. They want them to care about the same people, the same groups of people, whatever it may be. We aligned perfectly politically. So we never had problems with that. And religiously, we didn't ever really have problems because, like I said, I'm not practicing in the sense like I don't go to church and stuff. I still believe that stuff. I told my kid about heaven and stuff like that, and I'll continue to do that because it's what I believe.
But did she get involved in that sense, or was she good about
she never? Yeah, because she had a similar train of thought you did, where it was like, why tell kids when they're so young? Like, why be so depressing? I guess, like, let them believe in these things. Let them have hope. Like, let them have things to look forward to. Like, life is already going to be hard enough as it is for them as they get older. So it's probably best that they do have, maybe whether you think they're fantastical ideas or not, maybe it's best that they have some of those ideas in their head. But yeah, we never really argued about that. However, my mom and her did. And I would have to hear about it. I would definitely have to hear about it from both sides. My mom saying,
whose side do you take?
I took Brooke's side in the sense that my mom would say, I can't believe you married a non-believer type thing. And Brooke's perspective was, I respect what you believe. I'll never tell you you're wrong. I'll never ridicule you for feeling that way and thinking that way.
Who's starting the arguments, though? Is your mom trying to convert you?
My mom. It's my mom, yes. So because old school Christian belief is that you have to bring people into your tent. They have to do outreach. And it's like,
Yeah, that's sticky. You did the right thing. In my opinion, you always take, like, I love my mom to death, but like I'm taking Sydney's side. I gotta live with Sydney.
I did the right thing. It didn't matter, but and there's something funny. There's quite a funny story. Oh no, I already told you. I told you the other day. I sent you a voice message at work.
Well, if it's something for the audience, tell the audience.
It's not for the audience. You know what it is.
I'm sure I do. It slipped in my mind, but I'm sure I do. If you told me, I know.
Cornhole.
Ringing
any bells?
No.
Cornholing, getting cornholed.
Okay, sorry.
No, not me, guys. But yeah, it's not my business to share on here.
No, sorry.
But so yeah, that's just funny. But yeah, man, it's just like, I think I'll go to my grave believing that there's a God. Like, I just think that but Trey is right. Even as somebody that believes in God, he is right when he says that religion is a crutch for a lot of people. That doesn't mean it's not true, but it's 100% a crutch. Like, because
how do
you don't know what happens. So you
Right.
just want to have an idea of what happens because it makes you feel better.
What do you feel about people that, and I'm not asking this in a mean way, because we very well could have people listening to this that make a living off of this. But what do you think about being a preacher or having a job in a church like that's a full-time job? Like people that make a full-time living off of, you know, church, like, because dude, I'm telling you, I have churches here where they have staff. They have people that work full-time salary jobs in a church.
Yeah. Oh, so there's
As youth pastors, by the
Yeah.
way.
Yes.
I'm
And
not talking about, like, because the church has a gym and they have a personal trainer and I think religious people like the idea of having a gym at their church and they can go there. That's a personal trainer at the end of the day, you know? But, like, as a youth pastor,
there's levels to this. And so I will just say off the top, I've always said this, I'll continue to say this, tax the fucking churches. I'm sorry, tax the churches. They should be taxed. First of all. Second, I think it really just depends. You know, these motherfuckers like Joel Osteen and
all
like,
the mega churches and
yeah,
stuff
the
like
mega
that.
church guys, they should burn in hell. Like, because they're just swindling people to buy private jets and 15 cars. And yeah, that shit is
Who's that
true.
one guy who's that one guy? He went mega viral. Sir, is it true that you said that you don't want to fly commercial because you're being a tube of demons? No, I did not.
Yeah,
And
I
you can
can't
see the
remember his
devil come
name.
out of his eyes.
Yes, yes,
Uh,
yeah. I can't
what's
remember
that
his
guy's
name,
name?
but yes, he's fucking insane.
He looks like the devil. His
Yeah.
eyes are the most evil eyes I've ever seen in my life.
The funny thing is those guys don't even know that they're a walking contradiction. You are literally getting fat, like gluttony. Gluttony
Of
is,
donations.
yeah, your mind is you've become warped.
They're
You are
false
becoming the,
prophets.
yes, you become the thing that you're supposed to preach against. Now, like my pastor, uh Ron, my pastor Ron, Ron Corbin was the pastor. He's not anymore. At the church that I went to all throughout my teenage years, was a genuinely great dude. Like, awesome guy. It was a big church. It wasn't a mega church, but it was a big church. And but he was an awesome dude. He if I'm not mistaken, he was supposed to officiate my wedding and he couldn't at the last minute. But I always liked Ron. Pastor Ron was great. Our youth pastor, Brian Dalton, like a lot of people, and I don't care to use his name because he got fired from the church for some not so great messages he had exchanged with women in the youth program. So he's a piece of shit. So it is true that there are people that take advantage of those positions for fucked up reasons. But I don't know, man. Not Brian Dalton. Sorry, Mr. Dalton. That was my principal. Brian Dalton was great. Ben Dalton was his name. Brian Dalton actually officiated my wedding. Mr. Dalton, you're never going to listen to this, but anyway, his name was Ben Dalton. He was a piece of shit. I don't know, man. It's just hard. It's like, I feel like if the churches were taxed, most people wouldn't have a problem with it anymore. That there are pastors getting salaries and stuff if they were paying taxes. Like, I really don't think that anybody would have a problem with it. I think the largest problem is you're getting a salary. This is your technical full-time job, but it's not really full-time. It's clearly a livable wage, especially if it's a larger church like my church. I mean, Pastor Ron had a nice fucking house. So it's like, but if the churches were paying taxes, well, then you could justify it. Just like, yes, you're contributing to society. You're contributing to the economy in a fiscal way. So that's really, I guess that's just my line in the sand. If we tax them, I don't care. I do not care. And I also don't see a downside to taxing them. I genuinely do not believe that there's any downside. Now, if someone goes, well, what about the little hole in the wall churches in New Orleans? You know, I'm sure you've seen plenty of those in your day where they got a congregation of like 50 people. Like, well, yeah, that's a little different, but isn't that what tax brackets are for? Obviously, that church is not going to pay the same amount as my church would. So it's not apples to apples, but I really think that's the biggest thing. I mean, right? Do
Yeah.
you know?
That or churches need to be nonprofit
Mm-hmm.
and legitimately nonprofit. You know, but all this stuff can be cooked, dude. All these books and stuff and all the pay structures. Like on paper, I bet you Joel Osteen makes 32 grand a year. On paper. You know how it all works, dude.
Yeah. Well, you could also say it always frustrated me. Why do you guys have offering? Why do you take offering every Sunday? Why do you take our money when you're not paying taxes? Like that never sat right with me.
Isn't that in the Bible though? Tithes?
Yes, it is. It is. I don't
know?
know if the Bible
Supposed to
specifies
pay
that
you
it's
10% of your income
monetary.
to the church,
Oh,
dude.
I guess yeah, it does. Yeah, I
That's
guess.
tithing, and that's a
But it-
big thing.
But it pissed me off sometimes. I won't lie, man, because I don't know how it was when you were growing up. After church on Sundays a lot, you were hoping you'd go out to lunch. Everybody's always hoping, okay, we're going out to lunch. But I had a big ass family. Sometimes I'd see my mom put a 50 in that jar, and I'm like,
That was my burger.
I'm not,
That
we're
was
not
my
going.
burger.
Yes, we're not going to Frisch's now. And then we wouldn't go to Frisch's. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is bullshit. And my mom would say, like, oh, well, money's tight right now. You just gave $50 to the church. What?
Yep.
They don't need it. So that never sat right with me either. But like, is it just as the larger point on religion is like, I don't give a shit what you believe. I'll respect whatever you believe or don't believe. But yeah, I hate the pompous attitude of, and you said it too, you can't fucking say you're right either. It's just what you believe. And you can go, yeah, well, science tells me X, Y, and Z. Okay, well, also a lot of those points that you try to refute with science are not actually like legitimate points. The Bible never says that dinosaurs weren't real. The Bible does not say that Jesus died 2025 years ago. No, that's not a real fucking thing. So when you argue that, you're also aliens. My mom and I have talked about this. Well, the Bible says God created man and blah, blah, blah. Okay. That it doesn't say there's nothing else. Just said he created us. So like, I don't understand why, like some of the atheist talking points are quite annoying because they'll think they're like arguing with old school Christians like my grandma is like 84 and has dementia. Like, yeah, you could win an argument against her. She calls the NFL, she doesn't call it the National Football League. I'll just tell you that. Like she's a character. You know, people that had that old school way of thought, yeah, maybe she doesn't believe dinosaurs were real. Maybe she is a flat earther. That's not actually what the fucking Bible tells you. Like, I don't know. I don't know where people got that from. I don't know why that became a thing. I don't know.
I guess at the end of the day, dude, I really do. Like I said, there are moments in my life that I truly don't feel are just out of luck, and that there is something, and it's way beyond my scope of understanding, and it's way beyond my scope of anything I can get on this planet to truly understand it. So I just do the best I can, and if that's good enough, excellent. If it's not, so be it. You know.
Pascal's slate is something I learned in AP European history my sophomore year of high school. And that has always resonated with me. One of the things he said, I think his most famous quote was, and it became Pascal's slate that was like, if you live your life believing it, accepting God or whatever religion, and you die and you're right, awesome. You get to reap the benefits of that. But if you die and you're wrong, well, we were all wrong. So we're all going to the same place anyway. So like, what's really the downside, basically, is the argument. And I've kind of always believed that myself. Like, if I'm right, awesome. If I'm not, awesome. Like, there's no downside. You could make the argument, well, there's a downside if you're like a super religious zealot, like that your entire goal in life is to try to tell people they're wrong and criticize them and ostracize them and try to get them to believe what you believe. Yeah, that's a problem. But I'm not that type of person. So the way I live my life, I don't know. If I'm right, I'm right. If I'm not right. Whatever. I mean, it's out of my fucking hands anyway. Like that's kind of the whole point. And I guess the larger picture here, I mean, Christian, what's the meaning of life for you? What's this life for? Like genuinely. Like
It keeps changing as I get older. Um, even though I don't have any kids yet, like I'm not jaded to think that I'm important in this world. Like 10 years ago, I would have grandiose ideas of me dying and how it's like insane my funeral would be and how sad people would be. But when people like David Lynch die and then the next day I got to go to work, that's David Lynch, you know. Um I think the meaning of life is to dude, I don't know.
you
I
knew I
think
had to ask this question though.
no, I know. I think the meaning of life is to keep it going and just try to make it better and raise kids and teach them well. And I mean, the older I get, that's what I default to. Like obviously the audience knows I don't have kids yet. I probably will, you know. Um and the older I get, I think that when I was 23, I balked at the idea of caring about anybody but myself. But you know, I think as you get older, and that's the thing I'll tell people, anybody that says right now in their 20s, I know I don't want this, I know I don't want that, you don't know shit. You don't. None of us do. Um, if there, how many times in my life have I said I don't want this or I don't like this, and you're a year from then you can feel the complete fucking opposite. I can't imagine doing anything in my 20s and thinking I'm at this point, I can't imagine saying or doing anything when I was in my 20s and thinking I was going to stick with it with anything I said. It's just not how it is. You grow and you get older and you change and you experience things and you learn. I think the meaning of life, one of the things is definitely to learn and to like I watched I'm a big fan of Jerry Seinfeld. I remember Jerry saying something one time. It was like, "You seem happy. You're 70 years old. You look amazing. You seem," and how are you doing it? And Jerry said, "Because eventually one day you realize that right now somebody's talking shit about you and you don't know it. And guess what? It's all nothing. One day it's not going to mean anything. Don't give it any. Thinking about it or trying to even deal with it is pointless. Stop trying to make everybody like you." I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm spouting off a bunch of shit, man, but I think I don't know.
Ever.
Maybe everything's already decided for us.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't have to. Maybe we have built-in compasses that are taking us in the direction that we're going to go in whether we like it or not.
Yeah, maybe we think we have full autonomy over our lives, but maybe the joke is that we don't. Maybe that every decision we make that we think we're making with free will is actually just predetermined. And that's the
Yeah,
path we were going to be on regardless.
maybe we decide the pit stops, but the destination's not in our control.
And I guess isn't that kind of true though on its face at the end of the day, right? Because the end is out of our control. Like there's going to be an end. And that's something that all of us have to grapple and wrestle with and understand that like no matter how great or how shitty today might be for you or how this week or this month, understand that those highs and those lows, I mean, doesn't matter how high you get or how low you get, like eventually it's all going to end. And I just, for me, I just think the meaning of life, learning and growth is huge for sure. And I also just think just trying to be a decent person, like trying to be the example, what you want mankind to look like. Like, because obviously we've become so perverted, not in a sexual way, just perverted as a society and as a species that like we've lost our way in a lot of ways. And even as someone that believes in God, I will tell you right now, I don't think religion helps that. I think forcing religion on people makes that worse, personally, because then the more you push it, the more you have people pull away and revolt against it. I think that, yeah, I just try not to be an asshole, I guess. Like, what is it? Does it hurt to be kind? Like, does it hurt to, I don't know. You can't take any of this to the pine box with you. None of it. All the money you make, all the friends you make, all the popularity you get, when your heart stops beating, none of that shit matters anymore. And an even crazier thought, Christian, is 200 years after you get buried and you're dead, you will be dust, gone.
Never
You're,
thought of again.
yes,
Never
no
mentioned. My
one,
name will never be uttered.
exactly. And unless you were like one of the biggest, I mean, look, the people, historical figures. That's the only thing we think about. And 1,000 years from now, are people going to talk about, I don't know, Jamie Lee Curtis? No, nobody will. So even people like that, eventually, no one talks about them anymore. Like, and an even darker thought is maybe the place where you got buried, eventually houses will get built over that. Eventually, rain and all these things will wash away where your fucking grave once was. You're nothing. We're nothing. So, I mean, is that depressing to think about? Maybe, but it's fucking true. Like you could try to run from it and hide from it. It's all the same. It doesn't matter. Um, that's why I think life sometimes is so crazy. Is like, so what? I'm supposed to work my ass off all the fucking time just to pay to live my life, to be alive, to be a human, even though my time here is limited. So I'm already, my goal in life is, hey, 60, 70% of your life will be spent doing things you'd rather not be doing just so you can stay alive. So what, 30% of my life I'm doing for me, if that? I mean, when you really think about this, like on the macro, it's like, bro, none of this shit matters. None of it doesn't fucking matter. I don't know.
That's
You
true.
know?
That is true. But like I said earlier, I think what makes it worth it is we have the ability in our life to go through and feel every single emotion that there is. And even though the lows are horribly low, the highs we can feel in life are so incredibly high
Yeah.
that maybe that's what makes it all worth it. I don't know.
Yeah. And what's that quote? Oh, that quote from Waterboy. Home away maker. But it's
Oh man, that movie was huge in New Orleans, man. Everybody quoted it.
I fucking bet it was. But it's just like the same thing with life. Life is kind of what you make of it, you know? Like, yes, there are things that are predetermined that are out of your control. You can be a hobo, but you're going to hate your life. You're going to die of some kind of illness because you don't have health insurance. You don't have a place to live. So you could choose to do that, just be a vagrant. But if you want to have like any quality of life, yeah, a lot of your life is going to be hard, is going to be taxing, literally and figuratively, and challenging. But I guess the idea is that like, but that's how you get the highs, you know, that's how you get the pleasures in life. Like Christian says at the beginning of every episode, big titties.
That's it.
Like, but
That'll solve everything.
I mean, yeah, temporarily it does. I don't know, man. I mean,
Like, where's all this stuff gonna go when I'm dead?
I was just about to ask you, like, do you think, because I've already said this, all of my stuff I'm going to give to my son. And I don't know if I'll have a stipulation like don't sell it or not, because like I have to imagine, Christian, 50 years from now, that Halloween 15 disc set might be worth like $2,000. So like, it's stuff like that where like, what if my kid goes on hard times and he's like, oh, I got all my dad's shit that's like vintage now.
Well, he's gonna end up in the same place as you, so fucking sell it.
Yeah.
You know?
What happens to Planet CHH when you die? What happens to the channel? Does YouTube just like
That's the one thing I love about YouTube is in a sense I am gonna be here around forever. Those videos, everything I've done, it's like as long as the website's there, people can see what I did.
Yeah, but you got to think, just based off of what we were saying, do you think 100 years from now people are going to be using YouTube? No.
I don't know.
There'll be something.
Maybe not in the sense of looking at a screen.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It'll be VR, man. They'll be able to be in your movie room with you while they're watching your video.
You know what? Probably.
Did you hear that they're like testing out stuff, I believe, to where you can get smells on VR?
Is that what do you call it? 4D?
I don't know, but like
that's like they have rides at Universal Studios. They're called 4D rides, where it's the virtual cart things where you sit down like at a movie theater chair, but then everybody starts moving, and it's 3D with the glasses. But then they also add in smells of the stuff you're saying.
Yeah. So what happens, like, if you're playing a video game and someone like farts, or you're watching a movie and someone farts, do you smell it?
Probably.
And how do you even?
Who wants to do that though? Who the fuck wants that?
Hey, some people got weird kinks, brother.
Yeah, they do.
I'm still surprised you can't do that over phones. Apple hasn't figured out how to transmit smells, because I'd just be beefing into the phone and sending it to Christian like constantly, like, and you wouldn't know because you just go click play and you'd be like, "Ah, oh, fuck, man."
But who knows, dude? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, as we're wrapping up, I guess I should just ask you too, because like, yeah, we covered the main thing, like what happens when you die. We covered religion. We covered that kind of stuff. These are some of the existential things we all think about. But like, what else are some like things that really just get your mind racing? Like when you're like alone in your thoughts at 2 a.m. Like what's something else that can keep you up?
Evil shit. Horribly evil, disturbing things. Like I'm a true crime junkie, and the stuff people get away with, the horrible stuff that happens on this earth.
Is it more like me, where, because my mindset is I don't know how anybody could bring themselves to do these things.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I have a fascination with it, along with millions and millions of other Americans, which is why true crime and all that stuff is so popular.
Who's the worst to you? Who's probably the most evil person in the true crime world? We're not talking like, Adolf and shit. Like true crime, serial killer, or whatever, that you just like, you think like this person was the personification of fucking evil.
BTK.
Yeah.
Because what's so sinister to me is the ability to go out and have a family and make your daughters think everything's fine for years and years and years. And then to know after he was gone, like the panic attacks they probably have randomly, thinking about reliving a breakfast that they had together and wondering why he didn't just stop and strangle them or do anything. Like I can't imagine the panic attacks they probably randomly have every day, every other day. To be able to live two lives is just so disgusting to me. There's something so sophisticated and evil about it that is just, I look at Dahmer as clearly a mentally deranged human being.
Yeah.
And, same with Ed Gein. He was clearly troubled mentally, but there's something truly sinister about what BTK did.
And in a weird way, I kind of like appreciate the turn that Dahmer took, though, how he handled it, where he like took full ownership from the very beginning. He didn't lie about anything. He literally asked in the interrogation, do you feel like if you were let out, you would do it again? He said, yes, because I would not be able to help myself.
Yeah.
So like in a weird way, it's like you kind of respect that, because so often people like this They'll make every excuse in the book. They'll lie till they get the blue juice. I mean, Ted Bundy just
Yeah, Bundy
lie.
lied. Gacy admitted it and then completely lied afterwards
Yep.
till he
Yep.
died. He's like, I didn't do it. I'm
Yeah.
like, buddy, you drew the plans. Like,
Yeah.
you
He's the one.
shouldn't have admitted it that deep if you didn't want to.
He's the one I think of when it comes to like personification of evil. It's Gacy for me. I mean, 33 people confirmed, though they believe there were more. And just he lived a life too. He was a local politician, basically. Owned a business, had a wife.
Yeah,
All while that was literally underneath his feet. Like,
it's crazy.
And it's just, yeah, man. Like, that's just evil. I don't think. I mean, Dahmer did evil shit, yes, but I don't think he was evil. I think that he was just he wasn't firing on all cylinders. There's just something there, and that's one of the things that keeps me up. Is like, it's that argument of nurture versus nature. I think that argument personally is bullshit because I think you get both. I think you get people that come from an environment that help create that, and I think you get people like Dahmer that it doesn't really matter how they were raised. Like, their brain just doesn't operate like ours.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I've been lucky in my life to not have to, I don't think, but dude, do you think about that statistic where it's like in your life, isn't it like you'll walk past like 7 serial killers in your life or some shit is like the statistic?
I'm sure I've at least brushed shoulders with somebody that's murdered.
Oh, 100%.
With the forensics nowadays and all the stuff they have, serial killers aren't really a thing. I also wonder why most of them are all white. There's not a whole lot of black serial killers. There's some, but most of the famous ones were white.
Why people got that on lock? Good for us, right? I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
you had Richard Ramirez. He was Hispanic, so
he was Hispanic.
I also feel like he was kind of a little bitch because his whole thing was like, "I'm doing it for Satan." Shut the fuck up.
What if he's not lying?
Maybe he wasn't, but I just felt like it was an excuse. I think he was just a fucking perv with a sick mind. Like, yeah,
he wasn't right in the head either.
No,
I don't know, man. I think about that stuff a lot. But what's so bizarre right now is I'm watching this channel called Stay Awake Crime. It's a great channel, and it's all about these crimes that people commit. And these are people that like have decent jobs, like they work at the post office, they do this, and they get in relationships where jealousy takes over, and they just kill their partner, or they do this, and then they show the interrogation, they show them going home, they come back 3 days later while the police get more evidence on them, blah blah blah. And I watch, I'm thinking, this person committed murder, and for 3 days they're just doing their thing like nothing's wrong.
Yeah.
Until eventually they just get the evidence is overwhelming where they can't do anything else, and then they break down and cry, and it's just like, you're crying because you got caught.
Yep.
That's what bothers me, is like, if I hurt somebody to where I took their life, I don't know how I could continue. If it was an accident, like I ran somebody over because I was texting on my phone and some guy was on his bike and I wasn't paying attention and hit him and killed him, I think it would overwhelm me to where I don't want to say what I would do to myself. But if to kill somebody on purpose and then to just go to work the next day and eat dinner and literally close your eyes to where you go to sleep, how?
That's just a lack. You're trying to put yourself in the mind of somebody that lacks empathy. And as humans, we're wired to have empathy. So we can't even understand.
We are, but this is what blows my mind, is the amount of people that walk this earth that don't have it.
Yeah.
That's what scares me. That's what truly bothers me. Because these channels constantly upload videos about this stuff every other day. Hundreds of thousands, millions of people that are capable of doing this stuff, and they won't turn themselves in. They'll just go about their business like everything's fine.
Have you ever had
terrifying?
Have you ever had a dream where you did something like horrible and you woke up and it was like a mixture
Panic Attack Central?
Yes,
Yeah.
and you're like, it was that real? Holy shit! Like, what the fuck? And then you're like so relieved when you like realize it was a dream.
Yeah.
I had a dream a while ago that I killed someone and I buried him in my backyard, and I got a really bad rain, and it was like gonna cause the body to come up, and I was freaking out. And I remember waking up. I woke up in the middle of the night from this dream.
Panic attack, sweating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck? I did not kill somebody. Like, holy shit. And then I'm like, oh my God, it was a dream. Like, thank God. But like, even then, like, as a dream, something you can't control, an empathetic person wakes up from that and they're like, what the fuck? Oh my, like, the fact that people can actualize these things in real life and then just go about their lives. Yeah,
Terrifying to me.
it's insane. It's
Yeah.
insane. I couldn't hurt one of my animals. Like I couldn't, let
Yeah.
alone a human. We've talked about this before about like someone breaking into your house. I know for a fact I would do whatever I could to defend my family in that moment, that fight or flight response, but I know I'd feel bad afterward if I took someone's life. I just know I would, because I'd be like, I don't know this person's story. I don't know why they were doing what they were doing. Were they even going to harm me? Like, we don't know, but that's not the point. Someone breaks in, you protect yourself and your family.
Yeah.
But like, I
You'd have
know
to
I,
deal with yeah,
yeah,
you'd have to mentally deal with it.
yeah.
It's you know,
It's kind of why I'm weird about the death penalty too. I just don't know where I stand on that these days. I really don't, because especially like based off of like the Christian teaching is like, we're not judge, jury, and executioner. But like, there are some people that are like, you should not be alive.
yeah.
But then at the same time, you're getting the easy way out though. Like, shouldn't you have to suffer in prison? Shouldn't you have to live there for 50 years and get beat and, just have like, that's the least that could happen to you. When you kill them, well, they get that reprieve. They don't have to suffer in prison. I don't know where I stand on the death penalty, man. I still don't. I'm
Yeah,
glad that
I go back and forth too.
I'm glad we're not having that conversation on the federal level in recent years, because I just don't know where I would land, what I would agree with and what I wouldn't agree with. I know certain states don't do it anymore and certain states do.
Mhm.
And like, but yeah, I don't know. Also, one final question, one last thing is, if you were someone that made that call, you're a governor of a state and you make that call that someone gets executed, do you in any way have their blood on your hands? Like, in any way, do you think? Do you think as an empathetic human being, you would actually struggle with that a little bit, knowing that you signed the order to have this person die? Like,
until you read what they were charged with,
yeah.
maybe not.
But then you can make the argument that you're acting off of impulse just like they did, Again, this is what I'm saying. This is a slippery slope. And
There's a documentary about this that's amazing. It was directed and made by a famous director. Got a really interesting voice. The guy's name's it's called Into the Abyss. It's all about what you're talking about, where the director that made this documentary, I'll look it up. He literally interviews people that are on death row. Who's the director? It's from 2011. It was directed by Werner Herzog. I always say Werner Herzog, but it's Werner Herzog directed this. It's from 2011. I watched it on Netflix, but it's free on Pluto TV right now if anybody wants to watch it. It's exactly what you're talking about, exploring that. And nothing's black and white. To me, nothing in life is truly just black and white. Everything is shades of gray. That's the way I look at life anyway. Everything.
yeah,
So.
I would agree. I don't think, it's just wild, man. It's wild. There's a lot. This the kind of stuff that it makes you think, man. But I think in summation, I think the idea of this episode was, I mean, the people wanted it, but it was to kind of tap into that part of our brains a little bit, share some of the things that we fear. I mean, my number one fear is death. It's my number one fear. Ironically, it's a fear I'll never get over because it's something I'm going to have to face. So like, it's my number one fear. Do you believe in ghosts, right? Like, you do believe in ghosts?
Yes.
Okay, good. Same.
I haven't seen one, but I believe that, yeah.
Do you think that it would? Do you think if you had an experience that you couldn't deny that this was a fucking spirit, that it might shake your worldview a little bit? Like if it was an undeniable, holy shit, that was a ghost.
I think I'd have more questions.
Yeah. But wouldn't it, devil's advocate here, because I feel this way, wouldn't it also kind of make you go like a little comforted knowing like, okay, this isn't it. Like when I die, this isn't it. Because clearly I just fucking came into contact with somebody on the other side. And then you're like, well, what's that other side? I don't know. But now you have proof. There's another side. Like,
Right. I guess I'll cross that bridge when I get to it, you know.
oh, for your sake, man, I hope you hope you get haunted. You know, not by a demon or anything. You know, by like a sweet little old.
That's what I was gonna say. How would I know what I'm dealing with?
Well,
You know.
I believe the belief is that like ghosts can't harm you, but like I believe that in the Bible is like demonic entities can harm you. So like
Right.
if it's just spooking you, oh well, it's just a ghost. You know, it can't hurt me. It's probably just some like sweet little old black lady from New Orleans. You know, and she's friendly, and like that's fine. That's what I hope. I hope that if you get haunted, that's what it is, and it's not like Bathsheba or whatever the fuck. Because if it's Bathsheba, you're screwed, bro. You're done. You're done for.
I hope not.
I don't know. You live in a very religious state, like you said. I'm sure
Yeah.
you could get the neighborhood to help you. You'd have people in there. Just what in like New Orleans? Like, why do I always say Creole? Right? That's like a group of people, right? Creole.
It's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of like a blood, like a type of Southern Louisiana people.
Yeah.
There's Creole people, Cajuns, you know.
Yeah. You'd have people in there like they'd be capable of voodoo, bro. They'd be,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah, you'd be able to fight it off. You live in a state that'd be well equipped for it. If you were in like California, you're fucked. They're all
Mhm.
godless over there, you know. I'm kidding.
Yeah. Mhm.
All right. Well, Christian does have to work tomorrow. I feel bad that we recorded tonight. I did not know that beforehand.
That's all good. I didn't say anything about it.
But we hope you guys enjoyed it.
I hope you listen to this at 2 a.m., by the way, not 10 a.m.
We really want you to be thinking about like life and death and all that stuff. Like it's depressing, but it's also, I think it's good for the brain. I think it stimulates the brain. And I also think that's a big, when it comes to the meaning of life, I think that is part of it too, is stimulating the brain.
Absolutely. I agree.
So yeah, like it, guys. Comment down below. Tell us what you thought. Give us feedback. And before we head out, Christian, is there anything you want to add to the conversation?
God knows where we go from this episode.
We still have stuff on back order that we remember, like 2000s horror was one that you've mentioned.
I know
that
we talk too much on videos, and we're gonna have to do that soon. But who knows what'll come next? We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we will. But you guys wanted the depressing shit, so I better not see a single comment that's like, we didn't want the depressing shit. I'm sure I will. Yeah. Yeah. But
you can never make 100% of the people. What's the expression? 100% of the people you can. I don't know.
I don't know it either.
100% of the time, you can never make everybody happy, or you can make 100% of the people happy 0% of the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's true.
Like that.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be a comment or two. But hey, we love y'all regardless.
Yeah.
And before we sign off, I'll just leave you guys. I'll leave you guys with these words.
We're gay, oh yeah, that's right, we're gay, asshole,
All right, we'll catch y'all on the flippity flip.